Hi everyone, so this week we're going to be talking through some technology that can help support our calorie deficit. So we've spoken through the importance of creating a calorie deficit, but it's actually quite difficult to figure out if we're in that deficit or not. So we're just going to talk through some different apps and different bits of technology that we can use to help with this. So a quick recap from week one, we spoke through what a calorie deficit is. So it's calories in and calories out. So the more calories that we have out that we're burning and fewer calories in, we will create our deficit. But again, how can we monitor this? So we can actually look at how many calories we're taking in through an app called MyFitnessPal, which is very similar to like a food diary. And then we can look at calories out using various fitness apps such as FitBit, Strava, Apple Health, and Google Fit. So that is what we're going to be covering in this presentation. Okay, so this is the layout of MyFitnessPal. This can be accessed online, so via the internet, or you can download it as an app. As you can see on the home screen there, you can press the More button in the bottom right-hand corner. That will then bring you up a goals section, and then from there you can set your goals. So you can pop in there your current weight, your goal weight, and then it will give you your weekly goal if you want to maintain weight, lose weight, or gain weight. It will then from there identify how many calories you would need to create this deficit to try and achieve your goal weight. And then from there, MyFitnessPal will suggest a certain amount of macronutrient percentages. So their basic settings are carbohydrates at 50%, protein at 20%, and fats at 30%. Again, this is getting quite specific. And just to back this up with a little bit of research, essentially a calorie is a calorie. So some research shows that as long as you are in that calorie deficit, you will lose weight. So we spoke about it on the first week. If your body requires 1,500 calories to create a deficit, if you eat 1,500 calories of really bad food, you are still in a deficit. So you will still lose weight. However, it will not be good for your health. So it won't be good for your heart health, your gut health, your blood pressure. However, you will lose weight. So you wouldn't be healthy, you would just be lighter. So that's why we want to try and make good food choices, look at our macronutrients and what we're consuming, and also be in a calorie deficit at the same time. And then this is a little deeper look into MyFitnessPal. So you can press the diary at the bottom. You've got your different meals of the day. So breakfast, lunch, dinner. You click add food. And then there's a couple of ways you can do this. So you can search for a food. There's literally anything in their library. Pretty much everything's there. Homemade meals that you might make, or just standard popular meals as well that you might get from a store. Or you can use the barcode option. So you can use a barcode and you can scan any packet and it will import the nutrition information into the app for you, and then you can just add it to your diary, and then it will populate that throughout the day, and it will give you a calorie total and also a macronutrient total at the end of the day. And as you can see at the top left there, it will identify how many calories we've consumed, what exercise we might have done, and then it tells us how many calories are remaining. And as long as we stick to that goal, that will create the calorie deficit that MyFitnessPal has identified, and that should help you on your weight loss journey if that is your goal. If weight loss isn't your goal, there's also further information. So we can see how many macronutrients we're eating there. So it might identify to us that we're not actually eating enough protein, or we're maybe eating too much fat or too much sugar. So that's a really important one and quite an interesting one to look at just to help with our nutrition and diet. And it'll also bring that up in various graphs as well and compare you to the percentages that have been set. So it is quite a lot of deep information there that you can get from the food diary. Moving on to tracking our calories out. So there's a couple of different apps to do this. One app is called Strava. So if you like to go on walks or cycling, Strava will track your distance and it will track your calories and it logs that over time. There's also FitBit as well. So just to mention, Strava is free and you can access it free through an app. FitBit is you need to purchase the device, so it's a watch that's worn on your wrist, but they do vary in price, but they do start quite cheap, around £20-30, and that will track your steps. If you sleep in it, it'll track your sleep, and that will give you a rough idea of how many calories you're burning in that day, which will then give you an idea of your output, and you can compare that to your intake to see if you are creating that deficit. You might look at that and need to increase your energy expenditure and do a little bit more steps, or you might see that you're doing enough. We then have other apps which generally should come straight on your phone. So if you do have an Apple phone, it will be installed with Apple Health. So as long as you keep that in your pocket, that's going to be tracking your steps and your activity all day. And that will give you a rough idea of your calorie expenditure. If you did have an Apple Watch, you could then link that up to that as well for further detail. If you have a Google or an Android phone, you should have Google Fit. So exactly the same, and that's the Google Fit shown on the screen now. And again, it will give you your steps, it can give you your sleep duration, bedtimes, so loads of different information which will help with our lifestyle and tracking those calories that we've expended throughout the day. So just to recap, we've looked at MyFitnessPal to track how many calories are coming in, and then we've looked at the different types of activity trackers that we can use to track our calories going out. Okay, the main thing from this though is these are all nice to have things. They're not need to have. Don't feel like you should be sat there investing in different technology and seriously tracking your nutrients that are in and out. Let's start off with the basics. Are we cutting out some of the bad foods? Are we increasing our activity? If you do feel like doing a food diary will help you kind of understand how many calories you're taking in, then give it a try, even if it's just for 1 day, 2 days, just to get a look at it, or you might want to do it a little bit longer. And also, like I said, if you do feel like you want to monitor your activity a little bit more, then the activity trackers will therefore give you a little bit more information, but please don't feel like this has to be done. As long as our activity is increasing and our calorie intake is reducing, then. And next week, guys, we're going to be looking at some snack alternatives. So there might be some go-to snacks which are quite popular, which you might go for day to day. And we're going to try and look at some different alternatives, which will be a healthier option and hopefully a fewer calorie option as well, which again will help create that deficit and help with your weight loss journey, or also just providing some healthier snack ideas if weight loss isn't your goal, just to improve general health.